beauty and fashion are both like pretty saturated industries, and each of you have built a strong business and all seem to really know who your customer is. Is there something that you knew before you started, or are you discovering along the way? And sort of like what role has your customer played in building your brands?
Sure. Hi, I'll start. Emily and I started as fashion stylists almost 20 years ago, and in the process of styling people for the red carpet and magazines and whatnot, we really became observant to all the different roles in the industry and really fell in love with the design side of fashion. So we really knew that we loved fashion in all aspects, but we were really interested in all aspects and started to understand that you needed to pivot along the way and really find your niche. And we then became designers in that process and fell in love with that process. And then we became art directors and brand owners and whatnot. So I think the important thing to remember is that while you think you know what you're going to set out to do, you have to be willing to pivot and observe and honor what you fall in love with or what suits you best along the way.
And what about you?
For me, I would say in the beginning, the initial idea was to create a product that can fill a void for other girls like me who had the sensitive skin that wanted the fun, cool, flashy packaging, but then when you picked it up, you could pronounce and recognize most of the ingredients that were in there, knowing that they were plant-based and good for your skin and made with a good quality ingredients. So initially, the between aspect in the market, that was my target initially. But over time, we realized that when we look at the numbers, that's not the case. And it's honestly, right now, it's mothers who want the best for their daughters and an inclusion of teen and twin girls.
And you're 18 now, but you started your journey into entrepreneurship when you were just 9. What inspired you to come up with the idea and then turn it into like a full-fledged business?
Yeah, so I started my company when I was 9. The idea came from my dad. I'm really obsessed with lip gloss, lip balm, so I actually have a booth here in the back. It's called Zandra Beauty, and whenever you see me, say hi, and you'll know it's me because my lip gloss is always popping like all the time. And I would bug him every day before he went off to work. I would ask him, I need a new one, because I would just go through them so fast. And one day he just got tired of me asking, and he told me no. And that no kind of inspired me to be like, okay, if you're not going to get it, I'll figure out how to get it. And I started to research and watch YouTube videos. And soon my mom, she ordered a kit for me, and I made my first pink bubblegum lip balm, and she couldn't tell me that I wasn't the stuff. And I started to pass it around my grandfather's church, and then one Sunday, a lady gave me $1 for hers, and that's when I was like, okay, now I can make money off of this lip balm that I made at home in my kitchen, and that kind of started the transition of turning it into a hobby, transitioning from a hobby to a business.
And I guess for everyone else, have you also heard the word no and sort of used that as a fuel to like sort of be like, well, you told me no, but I'm going to do it anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we've heard no quite a bit, and I think we've had as many challenges as we've had successes, but we just get to celebrate the successes more. I mean, I think every time we've had a challenge, it's made us work harder, and I think there's a lot of fake it until you make it in this business, and you learn as you go, but you hold your head high and keep going.
And I think denim is a category that's sort of best known for legacy brands like Levi's, Lee's, but you're widely known for innovating the boyfriend jean, and you've established your own like cult following in the denim brand category. How did you create your own ethos and sort of carve out a space in the market that is dominated by big brands, but you have a really big following as well?
So we both grew up in Northern California, where Levi's is based, and I think grew up wearing Levi's and really had a love for heritage brands. When we started and launched Kern Elliott in 2007, the denim industry was very sparkly and low rise, and there was just something going on in the market that was very specific, and we were having a hard time styling our clients because the tops were really fancy and the jeans were really fancy, and we just like needed this mellow, chill version of denim that we grew up with vintage Levi's, and ended up creating a brand that felt disruptive at the time. And I think there's so much talk now about disrupting, but there was a white space in what was going on in modern denim, and we were able to do something with it.
And I feel like 2007, like Instagram, Twitter wasn't as huge, but now it's like everyone, you sort of need to have an Instagram, you need to have a Twitter. So how important would you say now is a large following for the success and growth of your business?
It's an interesting question. I mean, I'll let Meritt talk about this, but we launched a brand in 2007 and we launched a brand in 2015, The Great, and the difference that social media and web presence plays is clearly very different, and the difference that, magazines and, who posts and press is all changed, and so it's been a really interesting ability to see, what a brand needs now when it's launched.
Oh, and what about you? How important do you sort of think is having a large social media following and sort of like engagement online is important to your business?
It's definitely playing a huge role in my company and driving it to where it is today. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook has been my way of how I connect with my customers and really with the support of my company and let them know who I am and what I do. It's definitely been a driving point, and it's a good way to be loud about my company and show the confidence and show who I am virtually. So it's definitely been a way to connect with my customers, and it is important, and it's a job. It's like another job to keep it with that social media and the marketing side. So,
yeah. And I guess like how important do you think it is? Or not how important, but how do you show like your authenticity? Oh my gosh, I can't say it. Authenticity online versus like obviously you can't connect with all the people who buy your things in real life, so you sort of have to create this credible image online, and sort of how do you stay true to that?
I think the best way is to be careful about what you post on social media, and not, but also be afraid to voice your opinion in certain ways. But then also be mindful of who your customers are, so who your target market is and who you're speaking to on, who you're selling to, I guess, on a daily basis, and making sure that your opinions and stuff don't kind of like, you're nice in a way about it, the way you approach, and you're respectful of other people's opinions and other people's religions and just beliefs in general. So I think just being mindful and voicing it in a articulate but in an intelligent but respectful way will be a good way to show that oh my gosh, now
it is a hard word.
Authenticity. And really posting, doing lives and connecting and just saying, hey, I mean, we see it, we think we know, and we love Cardi B, who's going to be here later today, and she's definitely been a huge example of what that looks like, and getting to know that person and how they show up in lives and videos and really connect with their fans and throughout their company and stuff.
Yeah, and I guess like, as I said earlier, like you're 18, and I'm sure you're meeting and working with people who are much older than you. Even though I'm sure, obviously, backstage you told me that you speak a lot and you do keynotes, so you have an authoritative voice. But have you ever been dismissed because of your age? And sort of like, how did you sort of develop that confidence where you're like, even though you're older than me, I know what I'm talking about, and like, this is it.
Yes, well, I've definitely heard some no's, especially because of my age. Well, when I started in 2009, 2010, it was definitely a rare thing. Teen entrepreneurship wasn't as celebrated as it is today. Not because it's a bad thing, but just because it was completely rare. No one really knew what to do with it, or it was just weird at the time. So there wasn't a lot of programs or outlets for kids that are really getting serious about being in entrepreneurship and really just wanted to learn more and start formulating and creating skincare products. So it was a lot of me being the only kid in the room. And sometimes adults would be like, oh, like that's cute, or this is like a cute thing, and kind of like downplaying it and not taking it as seriously as it would be if I was in the same category or the same age as them. So what that did, it kind of just drove me to push harder and made sure that whatever room I stepped in, no matter who I was around, whether it was a whole bunch of adults or only women, only men in the room, that I was going to be an expert in whatever field. So that meant going to soap conventions and connecting with other makers and making sure that I was an expert in the skincare industry and learning all about the products and what they do and just making sure I knew what I was talking about. And then also on the business side too. So I actually, the University at Buffalo, which is a college in Buffalo, and they had an all-adult entrepreneur program, and I was the youngest ever to get accepted into that all-adult program when I was 13, which is cool. So it's like a college course class that I graduated when I was 13 years old from that program, and that kind of gave me the force and a new respect for me to learn about business, and that's when I created my business plan and I rebranded. So really just making sure that I was an expert in whatever field that I was in, so I knew what I was talking about. So there was no doubt that you could be like, yeah, even though she's young, but she knows what she's talking about. So that's how I overcame that.
And Emily and Meritt, how would you say, because I know you both you said you started off as fashion stylists and then you go into the world of design, so I feel like a similar experience for you, as in like people are like, okay, they're stylists, how do they know what they're talking about when it comes to designing clothes? So sort of like, how did you sort of overcome people's doubt and sort of like the same thing, sort of make them listen and sort of like know what you were talking about instead of dismissing?
I think there's two folds to having you need a strong point of view, and you need to stick to that, and you need to articulate that in words, you need to articulate that in imagery, in social media, in your branding, your website, your business card. All those things need to go through the same filter, and you need to reiterate your point of view and whatever it is that you're doing over and over again, and use the language over and over again. And Emily and I have always used the same words through our whole career, from styling to designing denim to designing women's wear to we have a home collection with Pottery Barn. We go back to the same few words: casual, American, nostalgic, certain words that are our filter. And we often have to go back to that same, mood board in our minds and reiterate that. And I think if you have your strong position in what you do, and that it will come out in everything that you do. The second half of that is, I would say, you never stop learning and evolving. Mm-hmm. And the world changes, so you have to make sure you take that point of view and keep moving along as well, and ask questions and look around and be observant as well, because times change and you need to change with it, with that same point of view.
And I guess this is a question to everyone. Were there any sort of like books, or were there any people that you sort of looked up to as far as like how to learn and how to sort of lead and how to build your brand?
I mean, not really, to be honest. And I mean, it's interesting because we didn't start at 9, we started at like 19. But I think the fact that we were young and in a way inexperienced allowed us to not play by the rules and not even know the rules all the way, and be discouraged by things. I think we just were able to work really hard and try to conquer things together. I mean, as we've gotten more seasoned, I won't say older, but more seasoned in the industry, I think now I read books about doing less better, and I try to lead differently. But as a young adult, I think we just kind of winged it.
Yeah, I would say it was definitely a learning experience for me and my family. So the university at Buffalo, that program really taught me how to like plan out everything, and marketing and branding and all that good stuff. And eventually we rebranded, but it also taught me the importance of building those relationships and connections. So all the cool business things that we've learned and been able to implement were through connecting with other people in places that I wanted to be in. So surrounding myself with people who already had brands in Target or Walmart or CVS or whatever, who were doing big things. So connecting with them and being able to sit down and have conversations with them and learn from them and their past mistakes. So that's really how we learned too throughout it.
Yeah, I feel like all of you have sort of like played by your own rules, and you also like went to take classes, and you guys sort of just built your own path and navigated that. So I feel like everyone here in the audience is sort of interested in either like building their own brand, or just like interested in like building their own personal brand, but also building their own like actual brand. So is there a tip that you guys would give for making your brand stand out from others?
Yeah, I mean, I think Meritt hit on it earlier. I mean, I think your point of view has to be so honed in and in some way uniquely yours. I think everybody has their own personal brand now, but when you're building a product or a consumer good or a fashion line or a beauty line, whatever it is, it has to fill some void of what's in the marketplace, or you have to do something that's in the market better or differently. And I think that uniqueness can come in different ways. It can be in how you're distributing. It can be in what the product is actually. It can be so many different things, including the brand itself and the branding. So there's a lot of ways to approach it, but there just has to be something disruptive and unique.
And what about sort of like when you're just starting, as in like you just want to start an Instagram page, or you don't necessarily have the funds yet, you just have an idea? Like, what do you think is something that people can do to sort of push that idea forward or get people to look at it?
I mean, if you're talking Instagram specific, I think, it's all the same things about like, what's your vibe? What are you taking pictures of? What's the filter? What are you creating? It's really amazing that we have these portals that we can make mood boards on, and you can tell a story through. I mean, I think when it comes to product, the product has to be excellent. Mm-hmm. So product first for us, even over any of the hype or the media or press or anything. I think we work really hard at product, but showing a process of how you get there is also authentic and real, and I think people appreciate. So showing the process of building a business or building a brand is also really interesting.
Yeah, and I would say, I think the biggest part, we have all these crazy ideas and things we want to do in different hobbies, and most of the hobbies that could be potentially filling that void or being a pain point or solving a problem that other people may want to get onto and may want to purchase, whether that's a good or a service. And I think the biggest part, we have these ideas and we kind of know because we see other people do it, but kind of don't do it because of all this fear and self-doubt and, oh, it's not going to work out, or, oh, I don't have the funding, or all these other crazy things. But there's always a way that you can get around that. And for a lot of it, social media is a free platform that everybody's on, that millions and millions of people around the world are on all day. And that's an easy way for you to connect with your customers or your potentially new customers. So I would say a good way, what you said, marketing. Marketing is a huge deal. So sometimes you don't even have to have the whole business plan or anything else together, but if you post a cute picture of whatever that product, that service is, and make it look amazing, you can already start making money before your business is already put together, I guess.
Yeah. So it seems like building the relationship with your customer is important, and then also I know that you guys are business partners, but also best friends. So sort of like, what's it been like running a company together, and what have been some of your most rewarding moments and then most difficult moments of running the business together?
Well, my advice to anyone who's starting a business is surround yourself with really smart people. So I caught on to that early, and when I met Emily in college, and people that inspire you as well. So, we're friends first, but we have the same goals, the same moral compass, the same life vantage point in terms of what we want to do, which is create beautiful product, have fun when we go to work, be fearless, be kind, be inventive. I don't know, we share that. And so going on that journey together is so fun. And when you've had a really hard day and somebody's being a jerk at work or something didn't work out, we can turn to each other and laugh and cry and vent. And then we decide to move on together. And so, I don't know, everything's better with your best friend, right? I mean, everything, a meal, a phone call, shopping. So why not build a business together? I would say the challenging part would just be, I don't know, between us, we have 5 kids, so coordinating schedules, perhaps. Sometimes, she doesn't eat junk food like I do. I don't know. It's actually pretty simple. We navigate our differences pretty seamlessly, and that comes with really good communication that us women do very well, and we work out every day.
It's kind of like a marriage too. I mean, like, we just have respect for each other.
That's great. And I know, Zandra, your dad just came on board as CEO, and your mom also works or CFO, I'm sorry, and your mom also works for Zandra Beauty. So similar to like a relationship of working with someone like you trust and someone who's super close to you, what's it been like working so closely with your parents?
Oh.
Oh, no, go ahead.
The question. Sorry.
Yeah, what's that been like, and how important is sort of like the support from your family and community to your brand?
It's the relationship over time is done. It's definitely, it was challenging in the beginning because you have these parent roles and then you have the child role, but then it's just like I'm the boss and I make decisions, and it's just like at home, it was different, and we had to learn each and everyone's lanes and respect the title as well too. So me on both ends. So my dad being a CFO, my mom being a COO, respecting their titles and their expertise in certain things, and not just saying, oh, just because I'm the boss or just because I feel this way, it's not going to work out. So I think that's the biggest part on respecting, and I think working with family or working with anybody is the level of communication, like you said. And over time, it's been amazing. We travel all the time. We laugh. We eat. We stand up all day. So it's definitely been really cool and interesting to see. And it's also like a level of trust too, because the parents who live together, and we built this bond. So it's like way past the parent and child like relationship. So we're business partners, but then also like friends too. It's interesting. It's cool though.
Yeah, it seems like having a good support system is super important for creating a successful business. But I do think it seems like everyone sort of struggles with staying motivated at some point or another. So what is something you do to stay motivated that sort of like you could tell our audience to try at home, or sort of like just tips to stay motivated?
I would say for me, staying motivated is resting sometimes. So I have a crazy schedule and I travel a lot, and sometimes things move too fast, meaning like I can do something last week and you come ask me about it and I have no idea what I did last week. Like it just works. It's just so crazy. Everything's happened so fast. So I think having that relaxed time and having that self meditation or whatever that looks like for you would, because everybody relaxes differently. So finding what that is for you and doing it when you really feel like you need it is good for me. That's motivation for me, because when I'm really tired, it makes me angry and I turn to a different person and I don't want to do anything. So that having that time to relax is motivation for me to be like, okay, I'm able to keep going on and this is what it looks like. But then also a really big part of how I stay motivated is coming to events like this and speaking and sharing my story, then hearing a couple weeks later that, oh, your story inspired me to start my company or take action on whatever dream that I was doing, and let me know that I can do it too. So hearing words like that, and it makes me feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose and I'm living out my purpose in what I do. So it makes you feel like I'm doing something right. So that's what keeps me motivated.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like to find ways, we both like to find ways to be inspired. So we go to vintage shows and flea markets because we find a lot of our inspiration from vintage. And so those things keep inspiring us to keep moving. And then I think we also like to inspire others. So our team and other people in business that we try to mentor. So I think that's finding the balance of filling up the cup and then helping others.
And you both started when you were 19, you started when you were 9, and I know like a big part of starting a business is like either like asking people for money or just talking about money in general. So sort of like, I feel like I've struggled with like asking for raises or asking for like what I'm worth as far as like being a woman and just being in that space. And sort of like how have you all sort of like gotten comfortable talking about money and asking for what you're worth?
That's I don't think that women are comfortable talking about money, and it's a good question because I think we should be more, and we are gently, changing the tide on how many of us are CEOs or business owners or entrepreneurs. So many more women than even 5-10 years ago, and money is, a big part of the equation, and money not just in terms of capital, but in what you're worth, what your time's worth, what your employees' time is worth. Is that worth doing? What's the payoff of that? And I think that we need to create a support system in which we can lean on each other and learn and support each other and make it totally acceptable and ask for what we deserve and just be proud and be educated and read articles and and really just not make it something that is like somebody else's job. It's part of our job. And, all of us, I can say, we're probably 50% creative and 50% business people. So, sit in those meetings with the spreadsheets and ask the questions. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of resources out there that can help you learn. There are a lot of books and websites. When we first started our business, we took a friend out to lunch who had just started a business in janitorial services, something totally different than what we were doing. But they were the same, we were like, what's the bank account? What kind of S Corp or, this type of corporation? And we asked those questions, and all the information we've taken on and learned through the years as starting different businesses, we've held on to that, and then we've shared, people have taken us to lunch and we share that, and we're really like, no, ask for more money, go get a loan, what is that percentage? We're really try to have a direct conversation and just perpetuate that sort of confidence through the years. And knowledge is power. And don't walk into a meeting and say like, oh, I don't know, that's not my job. Do your homework, and you'll see how much power that gives you.
I just want to add, because I know she's going to have so many amazing things to add to this too, but I just want to add that we did a lot of favors in the beginning. We did a lot of things for free in the beginning as stylists. And as much as we've grown to earn a certain place in the business, we weren't afraid to be beginners. And I think sometimes that's forgotten now, that you have to help assist or intern or learn what you like and don't like before you're an authority.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing, kind of to piggyback off of what you guys said. I would say in the beginning for me, it was, I think you won't start building that confidence to talk about money until you understand your worth and the worth of your product or your service or what your company is, and then you'll be able to stand up for it and fight for it and be like, no, it's worth this, or be like, no, this is not what it's gonna. This amount isn't gonna work for me. And for me, it was in the beginning, the finances weren't really what I cared about. Having money was great, but it wasn't a thing that I was really interested in. But then for me, I had to work with my parents and stuff and really just start taking into account once the customer demand started to increase, we need to start taking time to add in the value of my time and what it takes, how much time it takes to do everything. And that includes in the financials and how much it costs and all that logistics and stuff like that. So I think in order for us to be more, I guess, confident in speaking about finances and money in boardrooms or in the spaces where we're usually not, I guess, comfortable speaking about it until we know that our product is or our service is worth something, and your voice is worth something, your time is worth something, and then you'll be able to be like, okay, like, there's no way I'm going to do this for free anymore. There's no way I can say yes to this because I know the value I bring. I know I have the things that I have behind me. Like, it's just not going to work. So knowing that value and having that value in yourself and knowing it is the way that we're going to be able to be more confident in, I guess, in finances. That's how I worked, I guess.
And I think another side to entrepreneurship is sort of like passion. And so a lot of people say that you need to be super passionate about your idea to sort of make it happen. Do you think that that's true, and that you need to be super passionate about it to make your idea successful?
Yeah, I would say definitely you need that passion. You definitely need that passion because there's gonna be, honestly, in starting a company, if you don't have that passion or it's just all about the money, you're gonna have a hard time running the business because it'll drive you crazy. And if you don't have that passion, that drive to keep going, then you're gonna come across a lot of no's, and the first no, you're gonna be ready to give up, and you can't do that. So having that passion, having that drive, and understanding what commitment means, and commitment is understanding of the whatever you committed to, being able to follow through even when the feeling in which you said it has passed. So I just learned that, and it's a cool definition too, because it's one thing to hear, but to act on it and take actions on it is another thing. And feeling what you said, yeah, I'll do this, and I can take on 5 events at the same time, and then it's just like, oh, why did I say this? Or, oh, I can't, I'm tired, I don't want to do this. But having that commitment and making that vow and that stance of this is my mission, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do, and planning it all out and doing your research and stuff is the way you need to go through, especially in entrepreneurship, because days get hard, really hard, and if you don't have that passion, that motivation to keep going, it's just not gonna work. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this has been a long, hard, beautiful journey. We've been doing this for many years, and some days have been really difficult, and some days have been incredibly glorious. And at the end of the day, we're just passionate about fashion. We're passionate about and designing, and you know, you just have to keep your eye on the prize, and like you said, you have to rest and nurture your soul and find inspiration and all the things that fuel your passion as well. You have to honor those things. I think we've learned that through the time, is that sometimes being passionate is being quiet and observing and resting, and other times it's being loud and present and asking questions. But yeah, that's number one. Passion is number one on the list if you're an entrepreneur on what you need to make it.
I think another thing that a lot of people might not see behind the scenes is that like there's a lot of like mistakes and a lot of learning along the way, that you sort of like learn these lessons and you keep going. And so I would say, are there any mistakes or missteps that have happened with all of you that sort of like taught you key lessons in how to run your business and sort of like about your customer, or just about how to like build your brand better?
So many. Like too many to even go there, but yeah, so many. I mean, I think we've learned so many business things over the years. Like I would say our first business was like business school, and I think we learned right away that once we sold our first business and started our second, that we were better running our business ourselves, and the type of partnership and financing that we would work better with was different than where we started. I think, we have to put out collections seasonally for multiple brands, so it's not, we churn out a lot of product, and there's hits and misses every season, and I think that every time we think we see a pattern and we're like, oh, we'll never do white shirts again, they're not selling, they are the top sellers. So I think there's always this, ability to keep going and follow your instinct, and there's definitely a lot of ups and downs.
I think, through the years we've had a lot of people work for us and employees work for us, and some people you feel desperate to keep them, even if it's not a great fit, because you like them as people, or vice versa, they're really good at their job and you don't like them as people, and you feel like, if I lose them, I don't know what I'm going to do. And the truth is that's not the case. And I don't, not that everyone's replaceable, because we aren't in so many ways, but you'll be okay. I think that sometimes we held on to people or ideas or offices or whatever, not because we were afraid of what was next or what would replace that. And the truth is, it's an evolving process, and to honor that and know that, like, oh, this key person or this collaboration or whatever, it's so much of my success is actually not the case, is that you are, and you surround yourself, and that who you surround yourself and what you surround yourself with will change all the time, and it's okay to let go of things, and as you let go of things, new things come, and sometimes that's exactly what you need right then.
Yeah, I would say the lessons I learned will have to be that it's not all about me, and the customers do come first. In regards to, even the creation of what products are going to go out there, and of course my opinion matters, but respond to the customers and what they like. One of our top selling scents is a scent I cannot stand, and I can't, but it's one of our top selling scents, so understanding that the customers are of value in their opinion, it does matter for the most part. But then I would say also the lessons that we had to learn was that it's okay not to say yes to everything, because at the beginning we would say yes to everything, take every opportunity, even when sometimes it had nothing to do with what I was doing. We would just say yes just so to get my face out there and just to have a presence. So I understand that's okay to say no, and to be really cautious about be intentional about the things that I'll be introduced to and a part of. So I think that was the two biggest lessons.
Yeah, I feel like saying no is definitely something I've also learned, just getting older and doing jobs and things. And I think also another thing is like sort of like when it's time to move on. And I feel like you guys have, Emily and Meritt, have sort of done that really well. You started off with a denim brand, then you launched your women's apparel line, The Greats, and then you just launched Emily and Meritt, which is like a software knit company for young women. So how do you guys know when it's time to move on to the next project?
I think we start to see, it kind of reveals itself to us that there's this white space or this brand that we could see building. I think we're constantly wanting to build stories or to tell stories, and when you see an opening where it just comes together perfectly, then we want to sort of start a new business. I mean, I think we're really fluid, and like Meritt said earlier, in our thinking, and we're not too stuck on one thing or another. I mean, I think we love to build brands and to nurture brands, but if something pops up where we're like, you know, I think there's this opportunity in children's wear, then I think we try to take the opportunity.
And I guess my last question is sort of like just general advice to the audience. Can you offer a single tip for the audience, something they can do today to take a step forward at their business, sort of like no matter what stage they're at?
Okay, well, mine would be literally make a list on a piece of paper, 2 columns. Like 1, your ultimate goals of what you want to do, and 2, like 5 steps you could take right away to start the process or to get there. I mean, we have binders and books of the list that we've made, the dreams that we've, you know, had together, and then how we got there. And I think it's important to put it down and to really try to achieve it.
I would say reach out and ask advice to a lot of people, people that you've met, people that you don't know. Don't be afraid to email or send a DM to or stop somebody at Beautycon and ask advice. We've learned so much through the years. We've gotten business cards and emails from people that 10 years later have called upon to ask advice or for an introduction or whatnot. So don't be afraid. You'll get your turn to pay it forward later in life, but you'll learn a lot that way.
Yeah, I would say something similar to what you said is networking, building those relationships, starting early. I mean, clearly we're here at Beautycon in New York City. Clearly you've invested some type of time and energy and money into coming here. So whatever your passion, clearly your passion for beauty, cosmetics, or fashion, or whatever it is, go find, there's tons of people who have different expertise, ask questions. I'm here, I'll be around, so if any questions, build those connections and get those relationships, because that'll help. It really will help. Build those connections and relationships. You never know who you're gonna know, and you never know who that person may know to help you get up to wherever you need to go.
Thank you. That was the last question for me. I'm going to open it up to the audience. If anyone has any questions for our panelists or for me, you can raise your hand and they'll come around with a mic if any questions.
Hi, so before I start my question, I would like to thank you guys for sharing your wisdom with us. And my question is, would you recommend going to college or going to a school specifically for business to start your own brand? If not, how did you receive your knowledge of building your own business?
Such a good question.
That's a great question.
Meritt and I went to UCLA. We met in college. We both were sociology majors, which is not fashion at all, but does relate. But you know what? College taught us how to persevere, how to figure out systems, how to get to the finish line, but we also met each other, and meeting each other and all of the vintage shopping that we did in college and flea markets that we went to led to us building our first business. And so for us, it wasn't so much about studying fashion as it was meeting each other, really, that made a difference.
We have the opportunity to interview a lot of candidates for different roles in our company, and I will tell you, I rarely look at where people went to school, whether it was a trade school or, an Ivy League school, doesn't matter. So much of what matters is their personality and clearly their work ethic. their resume and where they worked before and their recommendations, whether they worked at a restaurant or a fashion company. Work ethic and good humor, good personality is really important. And a lot of those things you do learn in college and school, so and you refine those life skills there. But I would say learn as much as you can in however you can and what you're able to do. So whether it's reading books or going to college, whatnot. But I wouldn't say in the end of the day, if you got a fashion degree at FITM or makes a difference to us as much to who you are as a person.
Yeah, I would say also, I think that experience is a great experience to have. I mean, I'm in college right now, and it's definitely a different world to be left on your own and have to figure it out. And little things like what do I eat today, or what time do I set aside to study, or should I go out this night? So having that experience, it builds you up as a person. And then I would say to answer that question, whether you go to a college specifically for whatever it is you want to do, I guess the question would be is how interested are you in it and how much experience you have in that field, because you don't want to pay a whole bunch of money to go to a certain specific school and line of your career, but you don't know what that career looks like. You haven't met somebody who does that to a day-to-day, and you don't know what that lifestyle looks like. So I guess making sure that you're prepared to really fulfill and live out that lifestyle, unless college would be like a place where you want to explore and figure out what you want to do. But either way, like she said, as long as you're getting that education and know that education doesn't stop, and being open-minded about how you get it would be a good way for that. And I'm a type of person who I really like to beat around the bush. So I would, for me, going to business school is a clear straight through, because I know what I want to do and I know what that looks like, and I know what I can do with that. But it really depends on what type of learner you are. So.
Any other questions?
Hi, thank you for, again, I appreciate your time for, again, giving us great advice and communicating everything of your wisdom and your path with us. I have a little bit of a word problem for you guys, but so I walk into an office to sell a moisturizer at, say, like $30 a product. They ask why they should buy it, and I say it's hydrating, has shea butter, has hyaluronic acid, and antioxidants for youthful skin. And the CEO says, there are other creams out there like this, why should I buy yours? So how do you sell and communicate the intangible worth of your brand or product with confidence?
I would say how you answer that question is, once you have that, so are you the person who's the owner of that product that you're going to pitch it to? Okay, so yes. We live in society and the market sometimes, there's a lot of other water companies, a lot of other skincare companies, there's tons and tons of them. But the way that you're gonna be able to set you apart from them is really who you're helping, who your target market is, who are you talking to, because one company will come talking to somebody with this skin type, or another will come talking to somebody with this type of skin type. So learning who your customer is and who you're targeting, and what fulfillment are you doing for that? What void are you filling? What problem are you solving? We'll be able to separate, we'll kill the question of why wouldn't you just go get this other product? Well, because that product is more for my skin type. This product doesn't give back to a charity that I represent or that I like, or this product stands for this and I need this in my life, or that type of thing. So understanding who your target market is, who you're selling to, fulfilling what void are you fulfilling, and what that pain point is, and what kind of company is it going to be, I would say, to answer that question.
Yeah, and I'll just add, on top of that, it's your demo, right? Because it could be the same cream philosophy, and it could be for a tween skin or aging skin. It could be packaging, what it's sold with, what the future products or other products are with that makes it have a point of view. So I think it's just building that out.
Yeah. I would say people are really visual too. So if you want to have a brand book or brand deck, some sort of graphs and visuals, I think that don't assume that people can read everything in your mind, and sometimes they'll lose the words that come out of your mouth. So perhaps these are our competitors, this is where it fits in the market, where it's unique, and giving examples of different products around yours at price points or ingredients and why yours is different, so people can, have something to take away and look at as well.
Right, and then sometimes people may be turned off at the fact that when sometimes what you're saying doesn't connect to what the product looks like. So you could be in the beginner stages and be like, this is with the future, and have a, like you said, like a pamphlet or whatever, but sometimes with investors and other people, they could be turned off on the fact that you have to over-explain your product doesn't speak for itself, because when it goes on the store shelves or when a person gets it individually, your product needs to be aligned with your message and who you stand for too. So.
Any other questions?
Okay, hi. My name is Aaliyah. I just started my own brand in November, cosmetic brand. Last year, I lost 3 people to sudden death. So I used that as a motivation to start my brand. But I just now got to the point where I'm making sales multiple times a week. How long did it take you guys to make sales where it's like, okay, I want to continue doing it? Because sometimes I'm like, okay, should I continue and stuff like that? And also, how did you go about getting I don't know if you guys have it, LLC? Because a lot of people are telling me that that's what I need. But I don't want to do it if like a year later, it's not, like I'm not continuing. So how did you guys go about that?
Well, I would say before you become an LLC, you have to be sure and confident and this is what you want to do and as a long-term thing. I would say before you put in all that time and that energy into actually creating it and making it a full-on company and stuff. So I would say make sure you're clear and this is what I want to do. And it is a risk. Sometimes being an entrepreneur is a risk. You have to take some risks sometimes. But yeah, being confident and sure that this is what you want to do in the next week or the next month or the next year or so. And plan that out too. So like you said, writing things down, plan it out what you want to see, get connected, start doing your research, figuring out ways to do the funding. And for me, how I figured out in regards to like the sales per week and stuff, I think it wasn't until the customer demand started to be greater than I expected it to be, hearing customers' feedback and having the return rate be so high, and in regards to them coming back for more. So I think that's the ways that those were the signs where I was like, okay, this is turning into something that I need to really hone in on and make sure all my T's are crossed and all my I's are dotted and make sure everything was in line. So whenever I needed funding or whatever it is, I have all the logistics on the business side all put down and intact when I needed something.
Yeah, I would give yourself a budget and a timeline for your startup time. Most businesses don't make money for years, to be honest. So if it's something that you could do as your side hustle, I would recommend. I mean, when we started designing our clothing line, we were still styling and consulting during the day for many, many years until we could kind of transition. So don't expect that it will be lucrative, but you do, if you set it, I'm going to spend X amount of money and X amount of months in the startup phase, and if I haven't made this goal, then I'm going to reevaluate, but just, stick to that.
And don't be afraid to do interesting things in order to get your product out there, like host parties or have friends try it or have them post on your behalf or whatever. I mean, I definitely work hard on getting the product out there during that time.
And any other questions?
Hello. So my best friend and I are also starting a business. We're developing our social media and we are starting a beauty line. One of the hardest things for us is that we're both native New Yorkers and we tend to be a little bit more antisocial and more close-knit, like typical New Yorkers. So putting ourselves out there and really networking is a little bit difficult because sometimes it can feel like it's more of like, what can you do for me, and less authentic and less genuine. So any key tips on how to get out there, network, but still kind of be true to ourselves?
Well, Emily and I are very similar to you guys. And it doesn't come naturally or easily for us to go to events. I would say that's not our first choice. We would much rather be having, a glass of wine together or hanging out with our families. But I have found that the best networking has really come from some authentic interactions with people. So really come from a place where you're doing something you love, you're eating a meal you love, you're at a antique show you love, you're at Beautycon and you're talking about a product you love. I think that those are the most meaningful, real, important connections that you're going to make, rather than setting out like, I'm going to meet a ton of people. I think you'll never know where you're going to meet your next investor or your best customer, and usually that comes from just a really natural, normal place. But don't be looking down at your phone. Try to make eye contact. I think those are basic rules on kind of to connect with the world. Be open-minded. Be kind to everyone, even at the coffee shop. And, you never know with nowadays who you're going to meet. But don't feel the pressure that you have to go razzle-dazzle and be a superstar or a YouTube star to make it big. I think that there's a lot of shy, introverted, powerful, successful people in the world, for sure.
I mean, I agree, obviously, with my best friend. But I will say you do have to push yourself a little bit. So create scenarios that are comfortable. So like if you're not the type of person that wants to go out every night, then have coffee with people that you can network with, or find ways to do lunch, or find ways to connect. Because truthfully, the people that have impacted us the most are people that are authentically friends that we've made through networking. So don't get too stuck. Actually push yourself to that.
Yeah, and I would say sometimes, like she said, sometimes it does take practicing, and like you said, setting up those scenarios. Sometimes it has to be standing in the mirror and like asking yourself questions, and then you answer them yourself, and seeing your facial expression and what that kind of persona looks like. It sounds silly, but it works. And like you said, I think first impressions are a big one, and not putting so much pressure on the idea of like, oh, I'm gonna go make this connection and this is what it's gonna look like. But most of the time, the conversation that it starts off with is like, oh, I love your outfit, or oh, we had the same bag of chips, or like a little like small like icebreaker thing, and then you start talking about like, oh, so what are you doing here, and then it goes into like, oh, you have a business and things like that, and that's how you're be able to connect. So not putting just a regular conversation, but promoting your business at the same time.
And I think we have time for one or two more questions.
Hi. I have a question. So once I have created a product and then I targeted my consumer group, how do I go about protecting my product where someone else won't also make my same product and then launch it better than me? And how can I go about knowing if that product was already made and then I can get sued or something along those lines?
Researching is a big one. Researching, covering all outlets and sources in regards to whether that product is already out, whether it has a patent, because a lot of people come up with products and they use similar names, and some names are trademarked, and you'll get sued or have to pay a lot of money, so you don't want to do that. So just make sure you do your research thoroughly. And I would say, honestly, there's a lot of everything in the market. Paper, different types of paper towel or toilet paper, there's so many. So the way that's going to separate yourself is you always have to think like, yeah, I go across country and I teach people how to make sugar scrubs, but anybody can make a sugar scrub. You can look it up. It's not a secret. I learned from watching YouTube videos and researching. I think the only thing that's going to set your way apart is who you are as a person and what your brand represents, what mission, what pain point are you solving, and how is that going to be different from anything else, or is it going to be improvement on whatever else is in the market? I think that's the way you're going to like get over that hump of like, what if somebody steals the idea?
Yeah, I mean, those legal fees in the beginning when you're serious are really important. And I mean, there's uspto.gov, which is like, you can look up any trademarks, you can look up any names that you're looking for, patents are on there. I mean, simple Google searches can tell you a lot, but I think, words are more protectable than products, so make sure your words are really dialed in. And I mean, there are clearly patents, and so you want to make sure, but like she said, anyone can make a sugar scrub. That's not patentable. It's how they do it, what they're making it with, and what the name is that's protected. So there's lots of ways to make your product unique and get around those things.
And one more question.
Hello. My question was, what is your tips or tricks for finding a vendor? Because that's what I struggle with, finding a vendor, manufacturer, or anything of that sort, no matter what brand you have or what you're trying to accomplish. Because I'm in New York and I was looking for New York based, but then most stuff comes from out of country and I can't go and physically feel those things, you know what I'm saying? And then like sampling takes a lot of money, so it's like, what tips and tricks did you guys come about to find your vendor or manufacturer?
So
It's a good question. Beauty, so I'll let you start. But then-
Okay, yeah. So currently we are in that phase where, because we have a manufacturing facility in Buffalo, but we're looking to outsource and work with another manufacturer. So really just reaching out to other people in the beauty industry, in the skincare world that I made connection with that are already have manufacturers, reaching out to them, asking questions, talking about it when I do speaking engagements and stuff. So getting cards, just researching is a really big one. And I would say in regards to like vendors, for getting inside stores, I think the first store I got into was a local boutique shop in Buffalo. And the way I did that was I went in one afternoon and I had like a little box full of just little products and cards and shelf talkers and stuff. And I just said who I was and went out the store, just basically pitched the store manager, and a couple weeks later he purchased an order. So really just taking that time out, and a lot of local boutique store owners like to build a connection with the person, more so the product. So if they have a connection with you, it's working. Same thing a lot with the mass retail partners too, like having that connection, but they're also more on the product too. So that's another tricky one. But yeah, building that relationship with people is a really good one. So I'd say the more they see you, you have the ability to get inside those stores.
I mean, so ours is clothing, so it's different, but there's MOQs and minimums, and it makes it so complicated, and there's nothing harder than the manufacturing piece. It's been a long road for us, but you have to just start. You just make the first call, even from like Googling, and say, what are your minimums? If you can't meet them, do you know anyone who will take smaller orders or sample orders? You just keep asking questions and hoping people will point you in the right direction. And the other thing is just, I know it's expensive, but as you're making that sample run, generosity of product and handing it out to friends and family and influencers and people at a party, like giving product out is really valuable. So we always say like overproduce if you can on sampling so that you can be generous.
That was our last question, and now that we're done with the panel, there's time to network with the people who've come to the event, and just like, if you have any more questions, just talk to each other and sort of like definitely take each other's emails, and this is a great opportunity for networking, which is something all of our panelists said was great for building your business.